Where's the template? So I don't know if you saw my screen, but I did have a section on my screen about the back office support, and we're starting up the back office support as a tool for SMEs this year. We did 3 already: calendar, Gap app, advisory board, and now we're going to be launching our back office support. So we've looked at the different technical services that SMEs need, and we're going to be providing back office support. At first, we didn't know how we would do it, but you know, some of these skills are very expensive for small businesses to engage. Accountants, marketing, lawyers, etc. So we're going to be doing back office support where we have identified other nation builders who want to help small businesses to grow, to help Jamaica's economy. And so they will be providing their services at significantly reduced prices. So we've already started with one company, and this is a company from our last cohort, and he's going to be getting legal services for a contract that he had, and a lease contract as well. So if you need to know more about the back office support, we've already started with our legal, and Paula Cameron, who again is an advisor, will also be providing through her company some accounting back office. So what she does for one of the SMEs is they do their accounting, and then she looks at it every month to let them know if it looks good, if they're posting things properly. And now at this time of the year, she's doing their financial audit. So it's a great thing to do. You need an external auditor to look at if what you've done is correct. I know one company last year, when he applied for a loan, he found that the accounting was in such a bad shape that the bank would not lend him money. So he had to go and do over his accounting, because it's just very difficult for us in business to be accountants too. Okay, so enough time spent on the preambles. And I'm just going to say a word of prayer just to ask God to be in your mind and your soul. We ask God to help you to learn easily this morning. We ask God to let you absorb what you're learning and to be able to use it for the betterment of your company. We ask these things in God's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so I have to run.
Hold on, Mrs. Strong. You have another medium open. There's an echo.
I don't.
Oh, strange. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought.
You're hearing it as well?
Yeah, I am. I don't know why I'm echoing.
Anyone who is not speaking could mute themselves, and then we wouldn't hear the echo.
Oh, maybe that's right. I'm going to come out and come back in, okay?
Sorry, that might be me. I'm unable to hear from the laptop, so turned on the phone.
Just mute yourself. It's not.
Yeah, Eileen.
Okay, is that better? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we figured out it was one of the participants. We figured it out.
Okay, so we have a few of you who did the Excel training last week, and we started to look at the budget. So you should have a head start, but this is a repeat of some of the things we spoke about. The reason I said I'm going to rush a bit is because I'm putting the training on YouTube so you can listen to it again, and also for the advisor, so I don't have to do this over. And so I try to keep it within a certain time if it's on a video, although I know you can speed up video now. So, but if I'm going too fast, I need somebody to slow me down. I can't see all the participants on the screen at one time. So somebody would have to tell me if somebody else's hand is up, or they come in the chat to tell me if, and stop me if there's a question. Okay, don't feel that I'm rushing to finish on time. It's more important to get you understanding. So I'll go a little faster to start with, because some
Can your screen be larger, Mrs. Strong? If you go up in the corner here and maximize. Yes.
Like that? No. Hold on.
Yes. much
Oh,
better.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there was
Okay.
another, was sharing screen with something else. Yes. yes.
Okay, okay. So as I described before, you'll notice that your spreadsheet have some red numbers and it has this number highlighted. What those are is that I call this my driver. So you go in a car with a group of people and the driver determines where he's going, except for probably some vocal people in the car. The driver is driving in a particular direction. This is where you set your direction, and I'll explain that in a minute. If I was to change this 20, and in this scenario, in this spreadsheet, I'm using customers as my driver. So in this spreadsheet, I'm saying I want 20 customers in January. If I should change this to 100 customers, you notice my revenues increase. So your driver is the item you decide is going to dictate how your budget is going to pan out. If you notice at 20 people, 20 customers, I'm assuming my wage won't change because I noticed it hasn't changed, but it could. But I'm just using this as an example. So you'll notice that your food cost, which is down here, is going to change. So from $30,000, it's going to change to $150,000. So these are your direct costs, the things that relate to your revenues. So we went through what some people's drivers are last week in their business, and customers is one of them. I saw National put out a newspaper article to say they're spending $1.5 billion on a facility in Montego Bay. And I looked at their article. They use pounds of finished product. Honeybun also use pounds of finished product. So that's very common. The reason we don't use units of products is because a bread is a pound and a donut is 2 ounces. So it was not a wise choice. So you have to, as one of your most important things, to think about what is your driver, what is determining how other things pan out in your business. For Dylan, who is in farming, he may use, well, he has stores, so he may use stores, but the amount of stores he has significantly affects wages for him. It affects his tour bus cost, etc. So some things down here in the expenses can also be affected. So you need to think about what is your driver. That's the first important thing. And then the other thing is that your revenues per customer, the average cost or average sale we talked about was probably $3,000 worth of spend. So each customer sells an average. So don't tell me some spend 10 and some spend 2. You have to find the average. Your spreadsheet is a simplified version of what you do. So don't try to complicate it by doing this, that. Just divide your sales by how many customers you had in an hour. So why is this in red, Eileen?
I'm trying to figure out which device to answer you on.
Okay.
That's the, sorry, revenue. Why is it in red?
Right. Don't remember.
Sorry.
Okay. Let me move my screen to look at some other people. Vicky, do you remember why it's in red?
This is also sort of like a driver. This amount can change.
Right. So I'm not going to put it as a driver because we have one driver here, but the red figures are variables. So you can change it. So this is one company's revenue. Somebody else who is in food, for Honeybun, the food price might be $60 because I'm selling a donut, so to speak. I wouldn't use customers, but this is a changeable figure. I discourage you from changing the figures in black because formulas are in there. If you look at the formula bar up here, you'll see it's a formula. If you change it, you may not know how to get back the original formula. So if you're not great at Excel and you don't want to have to deal with formulas, try and deal with the figures in red because they are, you will have to, different businesses will need different things. So for example, some people may use pounds of finished goods instead of customers. So you have to change that cell. So basically though, and we'll work with you with the templates. The other important thing to know is what is your cost of that sale. So I put in 50% here because Jamaicans, my husband told me, only know 2 times table. So if it costs them $10, they mark it up to $20. So I put 50% here because if it was 10%, then you will see that your food cost went down from 600 to 120. So you're gonna make more margins. So instead of you're now making at 10%, 1,020. And if you go to 50%, then you'll be making 540. So this is also very dependent on which company you're on. And as I said to someone last week, if I see you walking on the street, I'm not gonna say, hi, how are you? I'm gonna say, hi. What am I gonna say?
How are your margins?
That's right, Mark. And we thought you weren't there. We know
That
you
was
weren't there.
Spencer.
That was Spencer? Oh,
Yes.
man. Okay, I'm gonna say, hi, what are your margins like? Okay, so you must know your margins. Some people know and some people don't know, but you must know. It's not about how much money you make, it's how much your margins are. So there are different margins for different industries. And Honeybun, our margins, we try to keep our margins below 50%. And we look on the stock exchange and we look at competitors. So this is how competitors with different sales volumes can compare each other. If I am making 47% and my competitor is making 60% gross margins, or it's costing him less than me as a percentage, then I know that I'm out of the norm. There is a software that you can look up. Oh boy, I'm not gonna remember the name now. Where you can find the margins and the income statements for different companies, so that you are able to compare how you are doing compared to other people in your industry. So this is one of the ways I decided I needed to be below 50%, okay? And you must know that too. So these are things that you must know to be able to put in your budget what it is. I also put packaging costs since our last training, because packaging is another direct sales that we used to use that as a significant item. Some of you have high packaging. I don't know, maybe Jan's is Jan here?
Jess.
No.
Jess's Gifts and Decor.
Things, Jess?
Jess. Jess Gifts and Decor. That's Kitty's.
Maybe she means Janine from
Ragamuffin?
Or
Actually, no, I meant, I don't think they have a high packaging cost, but I just wondered if maybe Jan's accent, woman, whatever.
Jess Gifts and Decor.
Jess Gifts and Decor.
Gifts and Decor, yes.
Yes, I call Nashona my external member. And Nashona just completed a course in leadership and strategic development. Very expensive course, Nashona, sorry, but I have to say it. And
It was.
My coach told me when I just started with him 3 years ago, when you don't give people responsibility, you rob them. He used the word rob them of the opportunity to learn. So how many of you have people who are at a C score in something and you're not moving them to a B score. Give them things, they will do them badly, and you will fix what is causing them to do them badly. How many of you here have 2 people being trained? Why aren't you getting your people trained? Bring them with you. Just share the address. Train them with you. You will do less and you'll accomplish more. And they will be growing. You don't want staff who are not growing. That's called dead people. Please don't hire any dead people. Hire people who can grow. Okay? So, boy, I talk a lot. Anyway, I have so much to share with you. So these are the things in red. I put a couple other things in red, like I put my marketing cost in red, because for this company, I put 3 because 3 to 5 is about the average marketing cost, because some of you don't know how much to spend on marketing. Some of you are not spending anything. A new company can go up to as much as 15% cost in marketing. Did the figure change? Yes. Yes, it did. Q9. Okay. I'm going to change it again just to make sure I have the spreadsheet template correct. Yes. Okay. So marketing, you can use up to 10% if your company is not, your brand is not strong. And some people are just aggressive in marketing. In this one, motor gas, we said it was going to increase by 50% this year. You can decide it's not going to increase any at all. You can decide that you think it's going to increase by 25%, and the figures will change. You notice when you change the red, the numbers, the output changes. So these are the sort of things that Excel does for you. It allows you to only input and not having to change. I so often see people who in their formula sheet, they will have something and multiply it by $30,000. Why? If you change it $30,000, then you have to go and change all of them. So encouraging you to use, somebody said it's a driver. Yes, it's a driver, but when I talk about drivers, I'm talking about your company's main driver. Where are you going? In this particular one, I kept in incentives. Incentives can be 0 if you don't pay incentives, but I left it on because it's something that I very often encourage, especially as a small business, that you hire part-time people who are already working, who want a sales job outside of their current business, or you may want to pay yourself the incentive because you're not paying yourself well enough. So incentives can be based on sales. This particular one, can anybody tell what it is being paid on? Revenue. So you can also pay incentive on profit. Okay, so those are just what I'm calling some strategies. And people think budgets are different from strategies. It's not, because it's not a document that you shelf. You need to use your budget to keep you accountable to what you plan. Because if you plan to make $1 million this year, it has to show on paper first. I used to plan for my house how I want to lay out the room. I want the bed here, I want a chair here. So I can do it on a different software and put where everything goes, or I can move the furniture around 60 times and figure out where it looks best. You need to move your figures around a couple times till you're comfortable. And I encourage you to do it with your staff and your people so they understand why you are spending only $600 in marketing. That's not the case, but so do this with someone. Your strategic roadmap will also force some of these figures into your budget, because on your strategic roadmap, you would have set up that I'm going to do training for 200,000. So immediately you need to be able to include here and I'm going slow for those who are weaker with Excel. Right click, insert a row, add training. And mine, for example, It's a brand new company. So I'm going to hire the people in January, and by March, I want them to be trained on customer service. I said 200,000. That is coming from your strategic roadmap, because you decided that you're going to deliver the best customer service of all your competitors. You said it. What you're gonna do? Just hope it happens? No, you're gonna have to do something. If you can't afford 200,000, then you do the training or find a friend to do the training. Those are strategies where your financials come into play, your profits come into play, and you see you're gonna lose more money this month because you did $200,000 worth of training. You're building your strategy when you're putting your budget together. So if you don't have a budget, then, oh, another thing I showed last week was that I have included a last year column. You can add any amount of columns you want without it getting crazy. So this is my prior year. So let me just use that consistently. Control copy or Control C, Control V for paste. So I just copied this name down to here. So look at this. If I said that last year, okay, so this is my budget for 72,000, which is not realistic. But if my profits last year, my sales last year was 100,000, then, and I'm going to add my commas by on the home tab, putting in comma here and reduce my decimals, because remember, we don't deal with cents. We leave that in the piggy bank. We're not in our business. So I put 100,000 here. Then immediately I know that to make 72,000 is less. So I like the comparison in a prior year column on your budget. Okay. So say likewise, let me just copy, Control C, paste, Control V. So I can see that last year I spent $7.9 million on wages. And here I am spending 2.4 million this year. What is the strategy to bring your wages down? See, so this is driving you to develop strategy. And then the other thing you do is you put in a description column to explain. These are what you'll find a lot of financial people call assumptions. So I use them alternatively. Description, assumptions. So I'm going to say, wow, last year was 2.4. This year 7.9. What could that assumption be? For example, questions. Come up with a question, even if you don't have one, find one. Nam's iPhone, can you find a question for Mrs. Chung? Or you understand everything so well?
I'm following. Let's see. The last thing you said was the previous year wages was 2.4 and it increased, right? To 7.9?
In your budget, you are increasing it.
Oh, that means you're growing, you're doubling up staff. That's good.
But your sales are going down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need to increase the price of your items there.
Okay,
it's at $60.
He's gonna charge $5,000 per customer. Then let's see what happens. Wow, your sales, 39,000 is still, last year was 100,000. I'm now selling lobster. So now my sales have gone up to more than my 100,000. So you're playing with your spreadsheet to develop your strategy. Does that make sense, Andrew?
Yes, it does. It does. I noticed here that you are, this is a budget for the year. Okay. Could you use your previous year's data?
You could.
To kind of
Good.
As a basis for your budget?
Very good. Because if your previous year, all right. So proposing you're sending this to get some financing. or you want your brother-in-law to lend you some money. Let's hope he's not going to lend you just because you look good. We want to hope that he's going to ask you, let me see your previous year's performance. So if you budget to spend $1 million to earn $1 million, and last year you're showing that you only made $100,000, then he'll say, what are you going to do? You only made 100,000 last year. How come you plan to make prior year 100,000? How come you plan to make 24 million? I'm changing up my menu. I'm having higher priced items. I'm going to increase my prices by 100%. What are you going to do that? That's not practical, okay? And I'm not expected to speak about practical things here. We can do that when you have your budget. I'm just showing you how the budget works. So you have a previous year column, so you can compare it, as you quite rightly said. Okay, and you can compare your expenses. So in fact, sometimes what we do is we look at our previous year's budget. And sometimes we even just say, okay, I'm going to use, I don't want to use that. I'm going to use my gas bill or my motor repair. Last year I spent, you're getting this from your auditor's financial report, your audited financial statement. Supposing you spent $120,000, and I can say, well, my motor repair industry under normal circumstances, normally, or yes, inflation is usually about 10-12%. You can say this year it's going to be skyrocket, so I'm going to put 15% or 20%. So I'm going to put 20% here to say that, and I'm going to make it in red because when my partner looks at this, they may say, no, 20 is too low. Sorry. They may say that, okay, I want to change it. So I can use a formula that says, I want monthly to be equal to last year divided by 12 months, multiplied by 20%. I know this is going to be a hard. I could say multiplied by, let's change something in this. So if you're going to want it to be the same, it's going to have to be 10%. But I'm going to increase it, and this is an easier formula, I find. I don't know if people keep coming off and coming on. I'm going to say I want to increase it by 1.2, which is equal to 20%. So I can say I want it to be equal to the prior year divided by 12 multiplied by 1.2. Okay, I think this formula had a problem in it, this number. So equal to last year multiplied by 1.2 divided by 12. Let's hope that works now. So I can say that this year it's going to be 12,000 because I'm expecting inflation of 20%. Some persons might say, no, man, the motor vehicle repair just going to increase by 10%. So you saw the figure changed, okay? So just in effecting changes in your red numbers, it is taking it throughout the formula. Not so easy. Sometimes that increased, but this one didn't increase. You could do.
Mrs. Strong, Shanoy has her hand up. and
Okay,
then
can you
Andrew.
read out? Okay, Shanoy, go ahead.
Okay, no, I had a question. So where we were seeing where the sales were going down, and the first thing we did was to increase the price point.
Mhm.
I just wondered if we ever get to a point where it may be that wages may be what is feeding. And I was trying to figure out how you assess at that point, because sometimes it is that you may have too many people, or they're not delivering on, you're not getting the return.
They're unproductive.
Yeah, so they're not being efficient, etc. So I know the first step we did once we saw the revenues not going where we wanted it to go was to increase price point. I don't know if you touch on this a little bit later, but I would love if, some explanation on how we measure that efficiency, so we know if it's really our staff or our wages that probably needs to be adjusted, because maybe we're paying 5 people to do a job that 3 people could have done?
Great question. And I see you're going to do very well with discussion of strategy. So I'm dying to see your budget spreadsheet because it means you would have taken all of these things into control. I'm going to answer you. If you look at Honeybun's budget, or you can maybe look at our annual report because we're on the stock exchange, and you're a similar business, you can find out what is my cost for wages in a percentage. Supposing you're a bakery and you want to know what wages cost me, and you go on there, the way to find out, and I'll use this as an example, the way to find out what wages cost as a percentage is to put the wage over the sales. And this company is spending twice as much on wages than it's spending. So how is it ever going to make money? You got me, Shanoy?
I'm seeing.
So if I want mine to be, I think wages can be like 12%, then I'm going to have to spend 71,000 about on wages. Of course, I've messed up my formulas because I've gone and jumped into the cell and changed it. So I can bring it back by copying wage. I've done something different here, which I will show later. So that's strategy. I want to bring my wages down to be more productive. So the way to measure it is to put the expense. So give me the formula for gas for this business. Shanoy, how would I find how much more? I don't like gas. You know why? Because how much gas I spend might not be directly related to my sales. Let's use marketing. What's the formula? Spencer, sorry, but when your picture is up, I call on you more because I see you. What's the formula for this,
problem.
Spencer?
The formula for marketing looks to be 10% of.
Oh, tell us the formula. Equal to what? Name the cell for me.
Equal to C32. I'm not seeing where the 10% of 2 million, but I don't see a 2 million anywhere on the screen. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Where
Okay.
that 10%,
So
2 million is
this
coming from.
10% here was when I'm doing it backwards. I decided I want to spend 10% on marketing. So I just put in 10% and then I made everything else be equal to revenue multiplied by 10%. Okay.
Got it.
Not sure what happened here.
I think we did the bank charge instead of the.
Oh, okay. So, we multiplied it by, you see how this is in red? And this D32 is in red?
Yeah.
I multiplied it by the wrong cell. I should multiply it by this one.
Yep.
Okay. So, if I didn't put this 10% here, and I wanted to know what my marketing cost is, then to get the marketing cost as a percentage of your sales or your revenue, would it be easier to call this sales? I don't know. Then I'm going to have to put, let me do it here, equal to the cost divided by what, Nam?
Hold on. We're trying to find a marketing budget.
Want to find in how much is $5,000 as a percentage of your sales?
Total sales.
So I gave you half. I said it's going to be equal to your marketing cost multiplied by the percentage of sales.
Yeah. That one,
So putting that in as a percentage,
12.5.
it's 1.3%. Okay, what are marketing costs normally like? You can look at any company, see how much is spent on marketing, put it over the total sales, and you'll get it if you put it as a percentage. Okay, so now that I have 1,000 questions and 1,000 people confused. Who understands? Too confusing. Moving too fast.
I think I understand, and I'm going to say what I think. Mrs. Strong is
Good.
correct.
Good for you, kiddish. Mhm.
Marketing, your marketing cost should be a percentage of your total revenue.
Good. That's it. That's the formula. Marketing
Okay.
cost divided by sales or revenue.
Okay. And then you just make it a percentage.
And you make it a percent, the number that you get be a percentage.
And
But
there
if
should
you
be a range. For example, between 1 to 10% is the most you should spend on marketing. Is there a secret formula or a secret guide?
Okay, so I did that homework for you. I went and looked at several companies, particularly my competitors. And I put, because it's not going to show you, boy, I'm going to put this training in 2 parts because I don't want to go too fast and lose you. So I'm going to go to Jamaica Stock Exchange because these are public companies and they're required to print their, or let me go to AMG annual report. That's a company that prints packaging. So I'm going to look at, and so now you guys who don't ever look at your own financial reports from your auditor will need to start looking at it. So I go to the stock exchange. I'm looking up any public company, Honeybun included. In fact, I should have used Honeybun, but let me just vary it a bit. I want to go down 50 page. Okay. So here I am in AMG. They print carton boxes. Okay. And usually people's annual reports have the same layout. So I know where the costs are. I think they're down in the last pages. And this will be one of you one day. Who is it here that I already picked up from my last cohort who is going public? Not as hard as you think, because by the time you get the support from your advisors, this becomes easy, not quite so easy, but okay. So you can use anything as a percentage of sales. All right, so here we go. They didn't use marketing. They used cost of material used. So they used for the year 365 million. So the formula is 365, 173, 304. And I'm going to divide it by what? Somebody, anybody tell me.
493.
Where are you getting that from? No.
The total cost of sales.
No. You need to multiply it always by sales. It's called cost of sales. Cost of dress. The dress cost 10,000. The cost of the dress is 2,000. So it's 2,000 over 10,000. That will give you the cost of the dress in a percentage.
Okay, yes.
So I have to go back up and find out the
What is
sales.
the cost?
Look, guys, accounting is not going to be your job, okay? Somebody's going to do it for you, but I need you to understand what you're doing, what is happening in your business. So this is profit. I need your income, this income statement. I think the income statement is going to be below the profit. Maybe here. So their revenue was 705 million. So I'm going to divide this by the sales, 705, 912, 602, and then multiply it by 100 to get percentage. So their cost is 51. That means that they're a little higher than maybe somebody who's 50. So they need to manage what things are costing them. Did that make sense? I tried. How about if,
Based on what they're showing, their cost of sales is higher than that though. Because you just use the cost of materials.
okay, here we have cost of sales. So you would have to know, does the cost of sales include direct labor? Does it include packaging?
Gotcha.
Then you would need to know a lot more. But remember, we're talking about your business. Your target was 50% for it to cost you, because you buy the thing for $5, you won't sell it for $10. So $5 divided by $10 multiplied by 100 is the, usually it's what things cost. 50%. And then some industries, I found out that fabric costs 10%. I was like, whoa, I need to be in the fabric business. Give me a gauge, somebody, on if I need to go back over these things, maybe at another time. What I will do is I'll plan another budget session for those of you who are finding it difficult to catch this one, okay? But I'm just trying to explain to you the use of percentages in speaking the language. Remember, Nashana said numberish, and I said percentage or data. This is what I'm meaning by data. You need to know. So showing you the budget, I've already shown you that you need to have a driver. What is a driver? So let's go over a few companies that we never did last week. I know Spencer, we used you. What was your, Spencer does bears. What is your driver?
My driver was bottles sold.
Okay, so he's going to use bottles sold here.
It should be cases sold, but I don't reach there yet.
Okay, bottles sold. And he's gonna sell, maybe last year he sold, oh, I put this in the wrong place. Anyway, he's gonna sell, last year he sold 1,000 bottles, just making up numbers. This year he's planning to sell 1,000, sorry, I'm gonna use one more zero here. Two more. And you see why I like my zeros? Because I don't want to mix it up. So he's gonna sell this year 1,000 a month per se. And he's selling each one at $60. Okay, so if I was to copy the 1,000 across to say that every month I'm going to sell 1,000, then my total for the month would be
12,000.
Right, 112,000.
Just 12,000.
12,000, sorry. And at $60, it's going to mean my revenues are going to be 600,000. If last year you sold, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just trying to make you understand how to discuss your driver. So Spencer's 1,000 bottle, that's his driver. Okay, let me see who is next. Nam, can you just share your business so others can get to know you by your business and by your products?
Oh yeah, sure. Hi, Ragamuffin Hostel and Coffee Bar.
Okay.
So
What
I
is
guess
your driver? What would your driver be? Spencer was
slightly
What's that?
the simplified version would be bed nights.
Okay, if you're looking at your,
Hostel.
if you're looking at the hostel, and
Yeah.
let's just use some fictitious number. You go ahead and use them. You have 365 days in a month. You see, I think with Excel, so I can't even add in my head anymore. So supposing you had 365 nights, but maybe I have 5 beds. Okay, so
Mhm.
monthly, give me a fictitious number, what you think the monthly could be.
100?
Okay, so if you were to do 100 beds a night, that would add 150 a night per se. You would be earning 15,000. I'm going to make this equal to that so that I don't have to keep updating it as we go along. And I want to spend more time on some things. So you would be, make this a little smaller so you can see the full screen.
Mrs. Chung, I think you missed January. Might throw
It's
you off.
okay. This is not intended to be perfect, but thank you for that. Okay, so just to make the screen a little smaller so we can see the totals. So this would bring you $165,000 for the, this was in US, by the way, this 150. So I'm going to multiply 150 times 155. Okay, so this would be 25 million for the year that you would be projecting. And then you need to look at what was my sales last year. How many beds did I sell last year? So you need your last year, prior year. Okay, who is after Nam? I'm happy to see you here. So happy. Mark, tell me what your did I ask you already? Not Mark, what could one of your drivers be?
It could be bowls sold.
Okay, so let's put bowls here for Mark. And how many bowls you want to sell a month? If you use day, I'll multiply it. Bowls a day. Let me use bowls
Okay,
a day so
so
other people can see the formula.
for bowls a day, let's say 70.
So if you do 70 bowls a day, how many days a week you work?
6.
Call four weeks in a month multiplied by 52. That's a formula. I don't even think and multiply or use a calculator. The calculator is already in your sheet. So that would be, well, that's a month. Let me take out the 52, so it's per month. So let us say that that's that, and let us say that you sell for $1,000 a bowl. Okay, so this one didn't get the formula, but the rest did. So that would be 18 million that you're looking to sell this year. And last year you sold 15 million on your financial reports that your auditor did for you. So now all of you are good at this. Vicky, what is your driver?
My driver, number of customers, and then average dollar spend.
$6,000. We don't want to spend too much time on it. So that means that you will be selling 110 million this year, and your revenue for last year was whatever it is. So you need to fill out the revenue for last year in red as well. So I'm going to put all of these in red because you need to update them. Did I go by Andrew already?
We didn't go by Eileen.
Oh, okay. I don't know where your picture is, where I left it out. I think Eileen went last week with us. I just want to make sure.
Oh, Shanoy.
Shanoy? Where are you, Shanoy? I'm looking
I
for
am
you.
here.
Okay.
I mean,
What
I've been
is
listening because I know it's a little tricky with service businesses, but for
Yes.
me, a main driver is the number of clients that I land and also the average dollar spend that they're doing.
Okay, you can do that. Another one could be hours. Do you charge by the hours or do you
No.
charge by the client?
It's a mix. So when
Oh,
someone approaches us to cost something, we do break it down by hours spent on the task. But sometimes we do have a client, well, yeah, ultimately it boils down to hours, because if somebody comes with us and said this is their budget, we then break it down to see
And
how
what I
much.
recommend for services is that you record the hours that you spend with them.
Mhm.
So you can get an idea whether you got value or they getting too much value. So I'm going to
Yeah.
use hours. So I'm glad I used you. And you could say that you are using, you have 40 hours a week. For one client, you want 2 clients. Just thinking on a spreadsheet, 40 hours a week times 2 clients times 4 weeks. Okay, so you should be able to earn at $6,000 an hour, 1.9. So you can say, I want to earn more, 6,500. But you know, my competitor, this is a market research part of the strat plan, is selling for $2,000,
$15,000 an hour. They're probably selling 10 to
$15,000
$15,000.
an hour. So
Yes.
I need to up my rate because I did my market research. Where am I getting the market research from, Vicky? Nashana, where am I getting the market research from?
Well, you could get some from Jamaica Stock Exchange, or you could do one. If it's
No,
if you're
why is Mrs.
comparing.
Chung using that word, market research?
Because we're gonna have that service available in our back office support.
Well, okay, there are lots of different answers for this. I'm deliberately doing it because you guys are putting your strategic plan together, your roadmap. So don't think that you are going to just pick a number out of a hat. It's like somebody said to me yesterday, I want to triple my sales. So I said, why? Why you pick triple? Why not put 5 times? Why not put 10 times? Why you pick 3 times? You have to know the size of your market. And how many people do you have a lot of competition? If the size of your market is, guess, 3 million Jamaican and probably 200 companies doing what I'm doing, you have to use some numbers to decide what you want to achieve. You can't pick numbers out of hats anymore because you're going to be held responsible for achieving it. So do your market research. Was there anybody else I didn't use a driver for?
Kiddies.
Okay, go ahead, kiddies. Tell us your business first.
So we do personalized gifts.
Okay.
And our main, the item I focus mainly on is what we call our LED lamps. That has our highest profit margin. And
is that what you sell the most of?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And we try to sell about 100 of those lamps per month, at least.
And about what do they sell for?
5,500 each.
And what is your cost on each lamp?
2,500.
So you are 50%.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you're going to look at your prior year sales and see, oh, 15 million. So this year you're selling less. So I'm just saying that you're going to have to use your spreadsheet by filling in the red numbers to make your strategy. People think, let's go to a meeting, let's sit down and discuss strategy. And then they talk and talk and talk. And then when they're finished, they don't have a strategy because it's out of line with last year's results. They don't know what to accomplish. Supposing, Kiddish, you wanted to sell 1,000 lamps a month.
Oh, wow.
Spencer, what do you need? Supposing you need to make $60 million a month then. What do you need to do besides market research to achieve that sales? I'm going to go down slowly.
Need to increase my capacities.
You need to increase capacity. Very good. That's not here. And supposing she
Increase
has
marketing costs.
you may need to increase your marketing costs.
Marketing.
Okay. So this is a strategy that you could have. She's saying she wants to increase her revenues by, what is that? 1530. I don't even know what percentage is, but it's a whole lot of percentage she wants to increase it by. So if last year she sold 30 million, she's doubling up her sales.
Sales.
So one of the things you could do is you could increase your marketing cost. You know it's expensive. You've been asked to spend $1.1 million a month.
What the
But you're
return
making-
there.
Yes, but you're going to make it back in your net.
Yes.
So I want to use this opportunity to show you something else on the budget spreadsheet that you need to know. It's called wages. So on a different tab, I have some wages here. So if you look back under the wages, you will see that this is 710,000. It's coming from this spreadsheet. So let me go back here. I'm going to, let us look at the formula here. It is saying equal to the wage spreadsheet. You see the exclamation, D8. Or I could go equal to, and I jump to the wage spreadsheet and I put an enter. So if I change the wage spreadsheet and I say, boy, Mrs. Chunks, I must pay myself more. So I'm going to pay myself 300,000. It changes to 810,000. So when you go back to the P&L, you'll see the 810,000 update. So you're managing your wages spreadsheet without having to change a formula in your budget. So all I'm saying is that you develop your strategy here as well. Now, Kitty, at 810, kiddies may say, boy, I'm going to need 2 more sales reps. So she can change the number to 4. So I'm going to make these be in red. She can say, I'm going to double up the amount of, in fact, I'm going to need 6 salespeople. So now I need to spend $1 million a month. And I go back here and I see I'm spending $1 million a month. Strategy. Your strategy was to increase your salespeople because your sales are, you are pushing to double your sales. As long as you have the capacity, as Spencer reminded us, that's possible. Some of you may need capacity. So you may say, but I can't make 1,000 a month. So you may need to buy equipment to do it. So we go to the CapEx and you say, boy, I found a nice lamp. What automation?
We use a laser machine.
You're going to get increased laser machines. So I'm going to buy 3 more laser, I'm doubling up, so I'm going to buy 3 more laser machines. So I could put in a unit here. And I could say I'm going to buy 3 more laser machines and each of them cost
$1 million.
$1 million. And I don't mind if you give me fictitious numbers. Okay. Okay, so that means to say in February, I'm going to buy 3 machines at $1 million. So this is not an operating expense item, your capital items. Did I say that to you guys before?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Okay, it does not come in under an expense because it's going. This is an annual budget. Your laser machine is going to last you for 10 years. So it can't be in your 12-month profit and loss. We have to put it in a section below called your CapEx. So you see it updated. So I can drag this across because the other months you're not spending anything. And so this is 3,400,000 you need in February. I might be going a little bit fast, but I'll go over it again in your questions. So if it's 3,400,000 you need in CapEx, loans are not part of your operational expense. This is why this whole cash flow section is below your P&L up here. So if you need that, and you're going to the bank to borrow the money because you don't have the money, this tells you your net is $3 million short. How much money should you go to the bank and borrow? How much money should you go to the bank and borrow? Should you borrow 131,000? Should you borrow 3,300,000? This spreadsheet is written so that you start off in the bank as zero. You may have 100,000 in the bank, or you may have a negative 500,000. You're in overdraft.
Would it be best to borrow the 3 million, Mrs. Chung, or maybe a little bit over, so even after you make the purchase, if you need to clearance charges, etc., you make sure that you cover all of those costs, so that once you start using the machine and turning the profits, you are back on your feet?
Who agrees? She said
And a little more than that as well, because you're going to
Oh.
have to pay those sales reps.
I'm sorry, this should be sales loan repayment. Sorry, Sunkom. This is you getting a loan, so it's an inflow. So I'm saying that loans, 3 million. Sorry, Mark, you were saying something?
No, I think that was Andrew.
Oh, Andrew, you were saying something?
Oh, no, I agree with how much we should borrow being more than the
More than three,
3.45.
I have something, well, it's more of a question, because I'm thinking even if you borrow the money right away to buy the machine, it's also how long does it take you to generate the sales? I'm thinking there needs to be some wiggle room. You buy the new equipment, you now have the new sales rep. Is it automatic that within a month you're going to see the increase, or do you need to give yourself a wiggle room to say, okay,
I like that direction.
yeah, I'm
I like that
anticipating.
direction. Anybody else
We-
wants to add a comment?
Oh.
I think if I were you, I would borrow 20.
Four.
Oh, this thing is so bad. Okay, let's fix it up at the top. 5 million. Actually, it was based on very realistic figures.
Yeah, but the wages are still.
Wages are still too high? No. Maybe. So technically what you would do is you would have to look at when your bank account is going to be at its worst. But this bank account is getting worse and worse. So I cannot afford to buy 3 machines. I'm going to try 2 machines. At 2 machines, it's still going up. I'm going to buy, so if one machine is producing I'm not sure where I am, because I said 1,000 products. I'm going to reduce this to 500 products. Okay, so what we're learning about now is cash flow. I'm going to pretend, just for the sake of this spreadsheet, that each of these machines costs 300,000. Because the business, as we set it up, was not, oh, you know what? Let me make sure this formula is right. It is saying that minus the sum of that. I needed to put in plus this figure, okay? This formula was wrong. I had not put in the profits you're making. You can see I have the inflow and the outflow. But I had the bank. This is why I don't want you to mess up the formulas. Yeah. So this figure needs to be equal to this. Nothing much changed. Okay, I'm going to check the formula in that cell. That's the formula for the net. So when I do a spreadsheet, I have 1 or 2 people who double check it for me, because you can see that Honeybun's budget would be massive. If you saw our spreadsheet, you would have about 16 tabs down here. I'll show you. Not to make you daunted, because you are small, so you probably only need these 3 tabs. But I'm just trying to make the point that I use a lot of, and you can, if you feel that you want to do more than I'm training you on. Budget. Sixth draft. So you can see that at the bottom of Honeybun's budget, I have the outlets, the salaries, marketing, operations, food safety. I have quality, I have building maintenance, I have equipment maintenance. Now, I don't do these. I get the departments to do them. You can develop your staff by trying to let them put together a first budget that you look at. And when I'm finished, my financial controller looks at it. And then when she's finished, Daniel, my operations manager, look at it. So there is always opportunity for mistakes in these spreadsheets, but you're not going to be able to afford budgeting software at this time. Not yet. And I haven't been able to buy budgeting software as yet. So you're going to have to do your spreadsheets, make your mistakes, somebody catch your mistakes. So here I have found a mistake in my own spreadsheet. Anyway,
This is Sean, before you go further, the question had originally asked about how much would you borrow from the bank. We had some suggestion from the SMEs. What would be your suggestion in how much you do borrow to get
my
that new
suggestion?
equipment? Mm-hmm.
So if I was making a profit, first of all, if you're not making a profit, don't take this spreadsheet to the bank. And what I see here is that you're not making a profit.
But the question was around the cost of the machine, which was at 3 million. So you were asking, do you go to the bank for a loan for 3 million or
No.
over 3?
No, and I'm
No.
answering your question.
Okay.
So supposing I sold 1,000 products and I was now making a profit. Here's my profit. Then I can go to the bank. So if your machine is costing you 3 million and you're going to the bank with this document, if you look at your bank balance here, I have to change the CapEx to okay. So if you are going to the bank with this financial, because that's how you get loans, you take your financials to the bank, and if you are profitable and you can pay back the loan, then they'll lend you the money. A lot of other conditions. But if you took this to the bank, you will notice that your highest, and I showed you this, your highest number, because these are negatives, this is your lowest bank balance. You may have to look at it by looking at it here, would be 14 million. In July, you're going to be short 14 million. You only needed $1 million. So this business would need to be borrowing 14 million. Because you can't go into overdraft, or you can go into overdraft. What you would have to do is you'd have to get an overdraft facility, and you'd have to write in the interest charge in your overdraft facility.
So to
And-
get a to buy a $3 million equipment, I borrow 14 mil?
Yes, because if you
Wow.
if you are borrowing $1 million, what is happening here? Remember, I said I need to work out if this is right, because here you are, even with your $3 million equipment or your $1 million equipment,
Mhm.
you're still not making a profit.
Mhm.
You're still not making a profit. So you'd have to increase the price or the amount you produce to be able to make a profit. Oh no, you know what? These numbers are these numbers are positive now because you increased your price. So this is why you have advisors, because once you make up your sheet, and if you want me to come in on a meeting that you're discussing your income, your cash flow, or your budget, subject to my availability, I will come. So wow, we don't need $1 million anymore, because once you got that equipment for $3 million, you are now making a profit. So the only time you will actually need a loan, and this doesn't even look like you need a loan. So guess what? You can even get 4 equipment and increase the sales. I'm just trying to set up the spreadsheet. You see here now, you've gone down to an overdraft of 390,000. So you could borrow 4 million. You could even just borrow 500,000. I probably said a lot of things that a lot of people feel lost about. That's how numbers are.
That's
how
me,
it-
because numbers are not my strong point. So I'm
Yeah.
taking all of this in strides.
Okay, but you will not have to do this because we have back office accountants. But it is your business. I cannot put these numbers for you and then expect you to run your business. If you don't understand your numbers, then you have to at least understand it. And then because you don't like numbers, you give it outsource the accounting. Somebody can update it for you every month. Somebody can give you monthly reports on your P&L. And all you need to do is to understand it. But at the beginning, even if somebody does this for you, you still need to understand it because it is your work plan. It is literally your work plan. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and say that we will come back again. I'll probably have to go over a lot of this with some of you because you're advisors. And let me tell you something, if you understand what I am doing, it will be a breeze for you because you might understand more than some of your advisors. Not all of them are strong in financials. Some of them are
True,
strong
yeah.
in marketing.
Mhm.
Some of them are strong in logistics. So different strengths, but we try to put at least one financial person in each group.
In each. Mhm.
Okay. And then once your financials are together, you discuss your strategy. Say, boy, this is all Greek to me, but what I do understand is that I'm trying to sell 1,000 products a month. So I'm getting 2 salespersons. You just need to understand the strategy that this is driving. This is driving your strategy. Make sure it's achievable. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because we've been going for an hour and a half and I don't want to burn you out, but this is the most that I will train on, but I'm prepared to go over it and over it and over it. So we've learned about cash flow. We've learned that your cash flow has nothing to do with your income statement. It's a different statement. It's how you use the money that you earn, how much money you need to borrow. And I have a much more complicated sheet that I won't share with you about how to have your loan repayment. Forget it. I'm not going to do that. So, you know, you can pay incentives. This is your direct cost. That means every time your sales change, it's tied to this. You need to understand your cost of sale margins. You need to put in your prior year. You need to be able to, this is also another driver. I just use it to say, what am I going to use to calculate the new year's plan? Here, I'm increasing gas by 25%. I'm increasing motor vehicle report by 10%. This is two different ways to do the factoring. My marketing is going to be 20% or 5%, which aligns with your sales. We can't forget about bank charge. Just use whatever you did last year, unless you plan to do something more. So as long as you understand where these red numbers are coming from, and we edit this spreadsheet for you so it's aligned with your business. Some people use products, some people use pounds, some people use bottles, bowls, hours. You can use dollar signs as well. Do I like dollar signs? No. Why don't I like dollar signs? Most budgets are done with dollar signs. I don't like dollar signs because they don't drive a strategy. You hire a salesperson and say, okay, I'm hiring you to sell $1 million a month. And they say, okay, what do they go home and do? $1 million a month. How am I going to achieve that? They only did 500,000 last year. The way when you put other drivers like bowls is, you know, you can calculate how many bowls you need to sell an hour. You can figure out that you need to sell bowls cheaper from 11 till 12, so you can get more generated during those hours. You're able to develop so much more strategy if you use drivers to be aligned with your business. So it also helps you because you can plan on buying, if you're going to make your budget, 1,000 bowls a month. So it helps your purchasing. It helps once you help your purchasing, it can also help your I guess purchase order. So some of you will have more expenses. Look on your income, look at your accountant's report and see what income categories they use. Just to introduce you to an accounting term, they call these expenses or these things general ledger. It's an accounting code. The reason they use number codes is because you may put in a name, motor, and then the computer brings up reports and you post something in repairs. Lots of reasons why accountants use numbers. I'll take 3 questions. One could be, I don't understand anything.
No questions?
Are we getting this document, Mrs. Strong?
You will get the template. If you want to have this
template.
document as well, you could get it. I don't have anything.
This is what you had emailed, right, Nashana?
Yes,
I would love to
yes.
get a copy. I would love to get a copy.
Guys, I sent you this last
Yes,
week.
this was
Check
sent.
your
I saw it
email.
in my inbox.
Yes.
You didn't
we
know
do
it.
have
You
it.
don't remember because it wasn't important to you, but now it's like it's like bread and butter. It's like breakfast.
Exactly.
Know that it's your breakfast. You're not going to ignore it. But I'm not sending this one because I think there's a formula. There may be a formula error that I want to check, and I don't want to drive it based on somebody else's business model. So this could be called your business model too, and you could get very creative. Sell at very high margins.
Andrew,
Mrs.
you have
Chung,
a
I had a
question?
question. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Remember, I can't
So,
always see everybody on my
oh,
screen.
no
So
problem, no
you
problem.
have to let me know
Yeah,
who it
it
is.
was really good. You clarified that the
That's
CapEx goes
Andrew.
in a different section.
Yes,
And I noticed here, these expenses, you said operating expenses, right?
yes,
Okay. Fixed expenses would go in there as well?
yes. Give me an
Okay.
example. One.
I don't know, rent. You,
Good.
I guess JPS and like utilities, I guess
Exactly.
is variable, but
Yeah, but you could make your utilities be a percentage of your sales, or you could just decide, boy, no matter what I do.
okay.
Yeah,
I
so
guess I have like 1 million expenses, so that little section would be very vast and crowd up my
So-
spreadsheet.
for you, Nam, by the way, if it's a fixed expense, you can just go there and let the cell beside it be equal to it. I'm spending
Okay.
about $10,000. Okay, so you have 1 million different things. What I would recommend for you, Nam, is that you don't put the food and the hostel on the same thing.
Okay.
Food is going to follow different rules from the hostel.
Ah. Hmm.
So I would
Okay.
have this spreadsheet be for food,
For the cafe.
rename. And I would put in another one like this. And that's where anybody has a business that has mixed revenues. And I
That
would
was
put this sheet,
literally going to be my question.
okay, this sheet for hostel. And you use different rules. You use the same template, but different rules. And this one become rooms. And you may have a different, of course, your hostel is gonna cost you very little because there's no real material cost. So you're gonna have better margins. So that answers your question. And then once you get somebody like a Mrs. Chong or a Daniel Chong, who Daniel is on,
My team.
okay, he's with you, Vicky. Daniel is like the best person at Excel ever. Like, I let him check mine. I go to him for new formulas. So he's your,
Mrs. Chong, you never told me that.
oh my gosh. Okay, so he can do a new spreadsheet that combines the two. He can do a new spreadsheet that does your overall business total. I'm doing that with Dylan right now. Dylan has a farm and he has stores. Two different spreadsheets, two different strategic roadmaps. Okay, so
Miss
bear
Okay,
in
that
mind
makes a
when
lot of
And
sense.
just to clarify, this is if the revenue or the segment is totally different.
yes.
Okay.
Like you
Because,
might see that cafe has drinks and lunch. Forget about that. Just do your average spend. Doesn't matter what they buy. And if your food costs are from 10% to 20%, you can use your last year numbers to average out your food cost. When you average food and drinks, they may come to 30%. Use averages there. Any other questions? That was a great question.
I have a question. So when you started talking about, to say if you want to increase, just increase your margins. So I say, as a service-based business, for example, my question you kind of touched on, because I was saying in my line of business where we do marketing, communications, programs, we do training, etc. There are different categories and there are different lines. So for example, one of the things we've been trying to do is to get more SMEs on board. And so I think the price point we charge SMEs, we wouldn't charge an international organization based on budget variances. And so from my end, I said, all right, we're doing what we call our A-tier clients, but then we also want to diversify with MSMEs, and we also roll in our training programs. And so I think of those as three distinct categories, and I wasn't sure on my revenue section how to see you moving that sheet there. So I was trying to figure out in my mind, how do I capture all of this instead of trying to lump everything together because I would want to see what is contributing the most to my business, what is working for me probably versus what I need to drop.
Okay, so one of the things you can do, and I did this for a company recently, is you can have two different types of revenue, and that's if you understand spreadsheets enough and you want to go out into it, and you can have food costs for the two different types of business. So your food cost for your small business, your cost for your small business might be 60 and you make more margins on your large businesses. And you can put units, you can put copy. Copy, and you can put in, let me put it in there. So what I'm doing here is I'm splitting the one worksheet into two different products. But you have to have the projections for how many of the small are you planning on and how many of the large. And then how many units you plan to sell in your small and how many units you stand and what you call it now, how many units you plan, how many customers per se in each one. This would be a little more complicated, but I can do it when I'm not trying to do this, what I'm doing, but you would split the products. I could show you an example of it. Wow. Let me show you after, Shanoy, how I split up, and I'll probably send you that template. How I split up 4 different income revenue, types of income revenue. So that's a special case. Any other questions? So I did that different from having 2 very different businesses because his expenses would be so different. Okay. Any other question? What great questions though.
One question. Is the back
Yeah,
office open yet?
What's that?
The back office service, is that up and running?
Well,
I started my budget. I may have made a few alterations to some formulas. So I
Yes.
do need to go back. My first meeting with my advisors is Thursday. So I want to prepare that for it. So I
I'm so
think we
proud
may
of
have
you.
made some errors.
Proud of you, Eileen.
Thank you.
So,
But I would love somebody to help me with,
yes.
you
So
know,
we
to
started with
oversee.
the legal side, and I'm sure Paula would be prepared to spend time. I think Paula's problem now is that it's tax time.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
she has a company, so maybe she has somebody else who will work with you.
Everybody's so busy at tax time.
Yeah, but it's okay. Don't assume they don't have time for you. Ask them. So you could sit with her and show her where